gentlemen. And yes, you read that right. For this Firearms Friday, we're talking about the No Kings protest. It's a trap. Don't go. Okay? Now, I know pretty reliably, I'm pretty certain that my audience not likely to attend the No Kings protest unless you're out there trying to do like some citizen journalism and get some pictures, get some video, try to catch the bad guys in the act. Don't do it. And I also know that algorithmically, the likelihood that this warning is going to reach the people who are most likely to attend, right? Your crazy liberal wine ants and those cats, also slim. But guys, if you've got somebody who you care about and you're worried about, who is the sort of easy mark, default lib, or even septum pierced radical leftist that's going to go out, we've all got a black sheep in the family here or there, I'm sure. Tell them to stay the hell away. Stay the hell away from the No Kings protests. So I'm going to get into that in pretty great detail, and why I think that the likelihood of a catastrophic event at one of these No Kings protest sites this weekend is not zero. It may even be low, but it is not zero. And there's one way to look at that, to look at it, that quite simply, this is a left-wing protest, right? On the very base of it, it is a massive organized left-wing protest. That alone is danger zone territory, right? We saw it with the riots all through 2020. We saw it with the May 29th insurrection, where BLM and Antifa protesters tore down barricades, tried to break into the White House, set fire to St. John's Cathedral in Washington, D.C., tried to burn down the National Church. And it, that's basic, right? It simply is the case that where there are Democrats, there is violence. We did a deep dive on this a couple weeks ago when Trump first declared Antifa officially a domestic terror organization. And you know what? I have to double check this. I know that he's already discussed it. But I think Trump may have already declared Antifa an international terror organization. And there's a major important distinction there. If they cross the line, by the evidence and the The Independent says Donald Trump says he's designating Antifa as a major terrorist organization. President Donald Trump has designated the movement known as Antifa as a major domestic terrorist organization. Okay. So this is the most recent article I could find quickly. So it looks like we haven't got over the finish line yet. Once Antifa is officially a major or international terrorist organization, that opens up a lot of tools for law enforcement and intelligence operations to go and conduct COINTELPRO against Antifa. Now, there are some developments where Trump has basically cut loose the mechanisms of state and law enforcement to investigate and go after, in particular the IRS, to go after the funding mechanisms behind Antifa. And that's a big step in the right direction. But it really is this simple on the basic face of it, because it is a leftist protest, No Kings is a major organized protest. The chances of riots and firebombs are very high. Now, that by itself should be enough to warn you away and say, you just don't go. Tell your friends to stay away. Stay the hell out of every major city in America. If you don't have a very, very good reason to go into the cities this weekend, stay home. Take it easy. Have a glass of wine. Right? A cigar by the fireplace. Or fire pit. Outside. Don't smoke in the house. But there's more to it than that. There's a lot more to it than merely it being dangerous because it's a bunch of leftists and they are obviously violent. And when I say obviously violent, like I said, we covered the history of violence in a deep dive a few weeks ago. You've got basically it started with the KKK, then you've got Weather Underground, you've got BLM, you've got Antifa, you've got Planned Parenthood. Terrorist organizations are what the left does. Now, we're going to talk a little more about that in tomorrow night's deep dive when we are discussing the philosophy of aesthetics, the connection of beauty to the divine and the transcendental, and explaining, that connection, or rather the lack of the development of that connection, is a major contributor for correctly understanding why the left is so interested in the younger vote, in the younger mind, because it is the height of immaturity and hubris for one to believe I know more than everyone who ever came before me and am thereby qualified to tear down all of the mechanisms of society and replace them with my much better idea. Right? And so never forget that is who you're dealing with. When you're dealing with a Democrat, you're dealing with a person who has so much unearned pride and hubris that they believe that they know better how to do everything that has ever been done than anyone who has ever done it. But what makes this weekend most especially concerning is that not only is it a major organized protest, it has the active support of many high-level Democrats. Like we covered earlier this week, Chuck Schumer specifically said, we are organizing, we are sending people into GOP districts where we will force them to vote the way we want. He used that exact language. We will force them to vote. We will force. He then later went on to say, in reference to the indictment of Attorney General Tish James, that everybody, and he said everybody, left, right, liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat, blah, 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 everybody should be concerned, and everybody should rise up forcefully. He didn't say go and peacefully protest. He didn't go and say make your voices peacefully heard. He said rise up forcefully. Right? We can even go back to 2020 and remember that shithead Chris Cuomo saying, where does it say that a protest is supposed to be peaceful? It's right there in the First Amendment. Right? Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech, the freedom to peaceably assemble, religion, press, and the right to petition the government for redress of grievances. Peaceably assemble. But that's not what's going to happen here. Add to the fact that the left, who claim repeatedly that Donald Trump's violent rhetoric is incitement and is responsible for a wide swath of violence committed by right-wing activists. Never mind that they can't point to any, except for the clear Fed op that was January 6th. And when I say clear Fed op, remember, until just about a month ago, we knew in our bones that January 6th was a psyop, and that law enforcement, federal law enforcement, the FBI, sent embedded agents out there to rabble rouse and create the appearance of an armed insurrection. And it didn't work out for them. Nobody who was arrested was armed. Yes, I'm referring to the 274 undercover FBI agents. And Christopher Wray went before Congress and lied about the number of federal agents in that audience, in that assemblage. We now know that despite his dissembling and distracting and weasel wording, where he said there were a handful of undercover agents, but anybody else who was associated with the FBI was something like a confidential informant, etc. No, there were at least 274 badge-carrying, oath-sworn agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigations in plain clothes, undercover. And we now have footage of them on camera talking about whether, one is going to be dressed as a Trump supporter and one is going to be dressed as Antifa. They were there to agitate, right? We still don't have the whole story on Ray Epps. So you've got that. The left has shown us clearly that they are absolutely violent, and they will absolutely use law enforcement where they can to support violence. More recently, we're seeing more and more evidence. We saw evidence of this in 2020, where places like Portland and Seattle, etc., actually ordered the stand down of their law enforcement. I thought I had an article about that. No, I don't. Okay. But they actually ordered the stand down of law enforcement in places like Portland, Seattle, and a few other places. Law enforcement was ordered to stand down and to avoid certain areas. And we saw a rash of law enforcement arresting victims of arresting victims of gang violence. Let me check my microphone. Yep, good mic. Arresting victims of gang violence, etc., in these protests. Most recently, we had the story of Nick Sortor. This is not the only, not even the worst, but certainly the most high profile and recognizable incident of this. A conservative influencer was arrested in Portland. Trump was watching, right? So there's Nick Sortor. Nick Sortor, the conservative influencer whose disorderly conduct arrest for throwing a punch sparked White House retaliation against the city, interviews protesters outside the ICE detention center in Portland, Oregon. He was attacked. He was attacked by Antifa rioters in Portland. What was this, last week? They beat him repeatedly. He threw a punch in self-defense and ran to the police, to the perception of safety. He was arrested. His assailants were not arrested, despite having attacked him in clear view of the police. They arrested Nick Sortor. So we have another major factor here. The institutions, the law enforcement agencies, the police departments in your big blue cities are corrupt. they have been corrupted by the very presence of Democrats. Essentially, you've got these cities that have been run by Democrats for decades. And of course, over that period, over the time that the Democrats have had complete and total control of these blue holdout cities, they have slowly gotten rid of every law enforcement officer that they could that isn't a dyed-in-the-wool Antifa communist. Right? I'm not going to spend any of my time in the larger cities, but let's say hypothetically, I ended up in Portland on some kind of business or something. If you see a police officer in a place like Chicago, Portland, Seattle, you need to operate under the assumption that you are looking at someone who views you personally as a political partisan opponent. You need to treat every major city in America this weekend like it is an occupied territory. Right? That's what we're looking at. We hear about sanctuary states, sanctuary cities, right, where Democrats have a stronghold and they are refusing to comply with federal orders, which are legitimate, lawful federal orders. They're actively harboring criminals in protecting the illegal immigrants, or as I more correctly call them, hostile foreign invaders, very much with the intent of doing explicit disservice to the interest of the American people. Right? We can do a whole nother show about how Democrats are currently using the fact that the census does not ask about the question of immigration status so that they can count hostile foreign invaders in the census toward acquiring more seats in the House. We can do a whole nother show, and we'll have to, because there's some legislation coming down, legislation and Supreme Court decisions actually coming down around that conversation. Because right now it looks like the Democrats have somewhere between 20 and 30 extra seats in the House of Representatives based almost entirely on the use of hostile foreign invaders as essentially ghost citizens, right? So they get to have the benefit of the population boost without having to answer to those individuals as constituents, because they, in theory, they can't vote. Except in, where is it, Wisconsin? That Tim Walz, the governor, and I think it's Wisconsin, just signed a bill into law explicitly permitting hostile foreign invaders to get driver's licenses, which are state IDs, and do not declare the immigration status on the state ID. Minnesota. Thank you, Pitt Danny. Oh, even more white bread. So you've got all that. You've got the violent rhetoric. And then you've got this. The government is shut down. DC police are unfunded. The DC police, who, by the way, are also a captured organization, but they're defunded. Then add to that, you've got this liberal activist judge ordering ICE facilities to take down their security barricades. So you've got the liberal cities actively ordering law enforcement to stand down and allow the violence to occur. And then you've got the liberal activist judge issuing orders explicitly designed to retard and weaken the security posture of federal agents in these cities who are there to conduct law enforcement. And I almost don't like the term law enforcement, because while it is technically correct, what ICE agents are being asked to do should be the work of active duty military, right? I know there's a taboo there. There's the habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is for citizens. Due process for enemy combatants. Every illegal alien is an enemy combatant. They're a hostile foreign invader. That is the job of the Army. Right? What you see in mass migration into the United States, into Great Britain, into every country in Europe and in Canada, what you see with mass migration coming from the third world into the Western world is nothing short of a hostile military action by these third world expatriates. You're looking at the infectious diaspora of lesser geographies. Their very presence is a threat. They bring disease and poverty. They're unsocialized. They're antisocial. They hate you for what you have. And they come from places that have never sought to achieve liberty, prosperity, and security in a meaningful way, and have never achieved liberty, prosperity, and security in a meaningful way. So you've got all that going on, and then let's take a peek at this. This is the No Kings website, and God, I hate to have to go to this website but I suffer through this stuff so you guys don't have to. No thrones, no crowns, no kings. Shut up, you sociopaths. These are the planned protests, right? They're everywhere. And I believe where the stars are, that marks, capital cities. Right, Atlanta, yep, DC, that should be New York. Boston Commons, Chicago. So yeah, that's got to be Portland, right? Bozeman, Montana. Where the hell is Portland? I can't believe they don't have a star for Portland. Maybe there's just so many of them that it got lost in the shuffle. So there's another event planned for the 21st next week. That might be worth checking back into. But let me show you something. Protest, safety, know your rights, and de-escalation training. Right? These guys are offering. Nope. Stop. These guys are offering these training videos on how to conduct yourself for maximum. This is not it. I don't want to watch that crap. I wanted to see. Is this it? There was one of these that I was reading the article for, and now I don't remember. Host prep call. That goes to a YouTube video. There was I lost the spot then. They had this thing. I'm sorry, guys. I wanted to show you the thing that they did about. These are all YouTube videos now. What the hell? Because I swear anyway, okay. So one of these trainings, they go through detailing how you should use secure apps like Signal, etc. Make sure to remove the biometric security from your phone and use a strong PIN code instead. That's because this has happened. This has happened in some cases where the police will make an arrest and they can't get a warrant for the phone, so they'll just, after they handcuff your hands behind your back, they'll just push your thumb to the thing, or they'll just hold the newer phone up to your face, so that opens the phone. You should use a strong PIN code to secure your phone, et cetera, et cetera. Cade says Salem is the capital of Oregon. Yeah, I was talking about Portland because that's where a lot of the the most of the violence in that area is happening, is in Portland, not Salem. But that would explain why there's not a star over that one. Maybe because there's so much of it in Portland, they're just not bothering to run one in Salem. Anyway, they had the whole know your rights thing was part of it. Maybe that's the one I needed to find. Safety and security training. No, that's a damn video again. Anyway, so that totally broke my flow of thought. Basically, they're putting out training modules for protesters on how to evade the police, how to remove all the security data from your phone and install a VPN so you can record and post anonymously. They're explaining how to use your phone camera while your phone is still locked. Cade says he wants to know if Chattanooga made the list. I believe it did, but I already closed the website, so you're just... I would stay the hell away from Chattanooga anyway. Anything that has a population of about more than 5,000, if you can. But yeah, the messaging is clear. This is a clearly organized, massively organized protest, and there's one more major element, right? We've covered Chuck Schumer calling for violence, and most of if you've heard their name and they're an elected Democrat, they have called for violence specifically and explicitly, and in many of their cases, like we saw with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's campaign, they explicitly spent advertising dollars on raising money for the legal defense for BLM terrorists and Antifa terrorists during 2020, and they'll do that again. The elected body of Democrats supports this protest, and further evidence of that is the timing of the protest. We are in the longest government shutdown in history, and the lefties, the Democrats, keep getting on social and trying to convince us, well, the Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They can just reopen the government anytime they want. Donald Trump owns this shutdown. That's a lie. It's funny, it's funny how that works, right? Robert A. Heinlein in not Moon's Harshmas, Stranger to Strangeland, in the voice of the character Jubal Harshaw, said the best way to tell a lie is to tell the right amount of truth unconvincingly. So it is true. Donald Trump controls the White House. The Republicans control the House and the Senate. But to then say they can just reopen the government whenever they want to, that is a lie. Because the thing that is keeping the government closed is the funding mechanism. That would be the continuing resolution, because we haven't passed a budget in 30 years. The Republicans, all but one, Rand Paul, have voted for the continuing resolution, and they voted for a clean CR. I hate continuing resolutions. I think a clean CR is insufficient, because if you want to reopen the government without passing a clean budget, then you need to be cutting the absolute shit out of every program out there. Skin them to the bone. Fire thousands of taxpayer teat sucking shitbag government employees. That's what we need to see. That's what we need to do. But that's not happening. The Republicans voted almost unanimously for a clean CR. Now, right now, it's 53 to 47. In order to pass a CR, they need cloture. That's a 60 vote majority, not 51 vote majority. So yes, the Republicans control the House, but the Senate, and also the House, but it's a narrow control. The House did pass the CR, sent it to the Senate. We require 7. Pitt Danny says we need 4. I think it's 7. And without Rand Paul, it's 8. So I think we need 8 Democrats to vote for the CR to reopen it. That means that the Democrats are standing strong with one another in solidarity to keep the government shut down. And we just happen to have a firestorm of weakened or corrupted police security posture, governed where it matters by the enemy, by the communists, by the Democrats who control these blue cities. And the shutdown is ongoing, meaning that the Capitol Police are unfunded. We've talked about how the Antifa tactic recruiting mechanism works in the past, right? You plan a large protest, and it feels grassrootsy to the layman, to the young ones, to the teenagers and early 20-somethings, the college kids with a chip on their shoulder, your liberal wine ants who don't know their ass from Crisco, or cottage cheese probably. And they show up thinking, I'm going to go hold a sign and wave a sign and protest for my rights because freedom. And okay, maybe their heart's in the right place if their head's up their, even if their heads are up their asses. And then some blacked out thug in a ski mask shows up and throws firecrackers at a cop, or throws a Molotov cocktail, or throws a battery acid or concrete milkshake. And the police respond by either arresting people in the crowd to try and catch the person who assaulted police with a weapon, or they deploy some less than lethal means like tear gas, rubber bullets, etc., to try and disperse the crowd and break it up. And then your liberal wine ant becomes the next black masked bomb thrower. And make no mistake, these Antifa agents that are in the black bloc going to do the agent provocateur work and they want to get Americans hurt, injured, or arrested. They want people to suffer legitimate harm. They want them to have their eyes burning and spend time behind bars so that they become radicalized to the far left and embrace communism and become active agitators themselves. That's what the agents provocateur on the ground want. That's what they're told by their leadership to want. And the next time somebody tells you that Antifa doesn't have any leaders, ask them why Chuck Schumer is not currently in prison for calling from his high office explicitly for violence to be conducted, even after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Ask why Kamala Harris has not been arrested. Right? And it is this simple. They are the head. They are the leadership of Antifa. In every bit as much as the KKK was put together by the Democrat Party to discourage blacks and Catholics from voting, Antifa is there to advance the cause of communism at the behest of the Democrat Party. Right? The Antifa guys, they are told that what they want is for American citizens to be hurt in the streets, hurt, so that they will be radicalized and begin showing up to vote in larger numbers, begin protesting, begin obstructing the law and law enforcement more and more, right? And don't forget, I mean, we've also seen it's either three or I know we're up to at least three. I think we're up to 5 incidents now where ICE agents in vehicles with hostile foreign invaders arrested and on their way to be deported. The ICE vehicles have been rammed by other hostile foreign invaders driving trucks to obstruct the due process of law. Right? The violence is out there. But here's what should concern you. The Democrats saw what happened. If you guys haven't seen the new song, All Your Martyrs Are Monsters, go read the description. All Your Martyrs Are Monsters. In fact, I'll play the song for you. I'll play the song for you as we wrap this episode up in a minute. Go read the description, and it details the kind of history of the movement of these cretins. The narrative around people like George Floyd, James Blake, Rayshard Brooks, etc. Every time it happens, you see the protesters come out. They set a city on fire. They start murdering Trump supporters. The murdering Trump supporters. Chuck Schumer wants you to die. He wants you to be murdered in the street. But he doesn't get that. Like we said yesterday, he's got to make a sacrifice. That's how these satanic shitbags work. They have to make a human sacrifice. So they're looking for their own protesters, their own supporters, to go out and start so much rowdy shit that they get mowed down by the National Guard. So that he can point to that and say, this is Trump's fault. This is Donald Trump's fault. They want their own people to be mowed down in the street so that they can use it for headlines and clout and narrative shaping. Chuck Schumer is trying to get your liberal friends and family murdered for politics. They need a bleed that leads. They need bodies on the ground. And that's what they're looking for. So, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. That is your safety brief. Stay out of the cities. Stay strapped. Stay safe. Y'all be safe out there. Don't go in the cities. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night at 2100. We'll be doing a deep dive on aesthetics and beauty and the link with the transcendental. And today I'm going to leave you with the newest BFM banger. All their martyrs are monsters. Y'all be safe, guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.
They light the torches, chant the names, build their altars out of flames. Every sinner's crown of thorns, sold in their culture wars. They preach compassion, sell the rage, turn their prisons into stage. Their saints wear mugshots, their prophets steal. They burn the truth and call it real. The cameras rolling, call that justice again. They sanctify the broken glass, bleeding hands, a riot mass, names carved deep in city streets, halos hung on their deceit. They preach forgiveness, never peace, feed the mob, they never cease. They don't want truth, they want control, trade their souls for the victim role. They want blood, they want fame, addicted to the chaos game. Oh, their martyrs are monsters, virtue wrapped in vice. They sell their stories, never pay the price. Oh, their martyrs are monsters, born from fire and light, and they worship everyone till the last truth dies. They built their temples on broken backs, preach forgiveness while lighting a match. They want a savior, look inside. All their martyrs were monsters before the day they died. They died.
Yeah, Pit Danny, their martyrs are monsters, #1 on Spotify. As soon as I can figure out how to put music on Spotify. Be safe, guys.